Once upon a time, there lived a brother and sister named Hansel and Gretel. Their mother had passed away when they were babies. They lived with their dad in a hut in the forest. Their dad was trying to earn their living by working as a woodcutter and was looking after the kids at the same time. A couple of years passed, and struggling to juggle work and 2 kids at the same time, their dad decided to get married again. The woodcutter's wife was from a wealthy family, and she hated the fact that they were poor and she had to live in a small ruined hut deep into the forest. Plus, she did not like her stepchildren at all. On a cold winter night, as they were getting ready for bed, Hansel and Gretel heard their stepmother talking to their dad. "How are you going to get through this winter? We don't have enough food. If you do not get rid of these kids, we will all starve to death." Their dad opposed furiously. "No need to argue. I made up my mind. Tomorrow we'll take them to the woods and leave them there." Hearing all that, Gretel started to cry. Her brother Hansel comforted her.
"Please don't worry, Gretel. Somehow we'll find our way back home."
Later that night, Hansel snuck out and collected as many pebbles as he could in his pockets. In the morning, they all started to walk towards the forest. Their father told them that they were going for a family hike. As they were walking, without anyone noticing, Hansel dropped the pebbles to mark the way back. In the afternoon, their dad and stepmother lit a fire and told them that they will be back soon. They walked off and vanished in the woods. Of course, they did not come back. When the night fell, the horrible sounds of all the wild animals in the forest started to echo around them. Shivering with the horrifying sounds of the wolves, Hansel and Gretel did not leave the fireside until the moonrise. Then they started to follow the pebbles shining in the moonlight and walk towards home.
"Well done, Hansel. This was very clever of you."
When the kids came back home, their dad was very happy and surprised at the same time. Their stepmother also acted as if she was happy, but deep inside, her decision was still the same. She was very upset that they were back. After 3 days, the stepmother tried to get rid of them again. This time at night, she locked Hansel and Gretel's door and did not allow Hansel to collect pebbles again. But Hansel was a clever boy. When they were walking to the forest in the morning, this time he dropped the breadcrumbs that he had put in his pocket the night before and again made a trail the way back home. Around noon, their father and stepmother made up an excuse and went off, leaving them all alone in the forest again. Realizing that they were not coming back, Hansel and Gretel wanted to start walking back home before it got dark. But this time, they could not find the trail they left because all the breadcrumbs were eaten by the birds. Gretel started crying. For the first time, Hansel also felt hopeless. This time the kids were really lost. With no food and scared to death, they wandered around the forest for 3 days. On the 3rd day, they saw a bird, white as snow. The bird chirped songs with its beautiful voice for them. They forgot their hunger for a moment and started to follow the bird. The bird brought them in front of a funny-looking house. This house had walls of bread, a roof made out of cake, and windows of candy, and was covered with colourful cream all around. Hansel and Gretel could not believe their eyes. The house looked incredibly delicious. The kids forgot all about how tired they were and started to run to the house. Just as they were both going to have a bite from the house, they heard a voice from inside.
Oh! Now who is nibbling on my house?
They looked around and they saw a cute and sweet old lady at the door. When they told her all about what had happened to them, she felt very bad for them, and so she let them in. The inside of the house was very different from the outside. It was dark, scary, and it didn't feel right. But because they were so tired and hungry, the kids did not care much. The old lady brought all kinds of food and desserts for them, and the kids ate food that they hadn't had before. That night, they slept on the softest bed they had ever seen. When they woke up in the morning, the old lady wasn't there. They started to look around. At the end of the corridor, they saw a small door. When they opened the door, they found cases full of gold and treasure inside. They were very surprised, of course. Hansel wanted to get in and take a closer look. Right at that moment, they heard her voice again.
And what do you think you are doing?
When they turned around, the kids faced the witch standing right there in front of them. Apparently, the old lady was a witch leading the kids to a dungeon with a house covered with cake and candy. The kids tried to run away, but the door was locked. The witch pulled Hansel by the hair and locked him in a cage. Then she dragged Gretel to the kitchen.
Your brother is too skinny. Cook some food for him and make him fat. When he's in good shape, he'll be a delicious meal for me. But don't you dare eat anything. All the food is only for him.
Having no choice, Gretel did what she asked for. Fortunately, Hansel was a clever and wise boy. He decided to trick the evil-hearted witch. Every night when the witch was asleep, he was digging a hole in the ground of the cage. The witch was controlling Hansel every morning to see if he gained weight or not. But Hansel wasn't eating anything his sister cooked. Instead, he was burying them in the hole that he digged. In the meantime, the witch was telling Gretel to cook more. This went on for days until finally the witch had enough.
Fat skinny? I don't care anymore. Today I will make Hansel pie.
She turned to Gretel.
Look in the oven to see if the dough is baked enough.
Although she was in fear, Gretel was also a wise girl just like her brother. She understood that the witch was going to push her in the oven.
I can't get my head in there and see the dough,
whined Gretel. The witch pushed her aside and stuck her head inside. Gretel gathered all her strength and pushed the old witch into the oven and closed the oven door. Gretel knew where the witch was hiding the keys. She ran straight away and saved Hansel from the cage. The flames from the oven covered the whole house. Hansel and Gretel ran away from the burning house into the woods, but they did not know where to go. A while later, they came across a river. A giant swan took them one by one to the other side of the river. The kids looked around and suddenly they realized where they were. They ran home as fast as they could. Seeing his kids, Father was full of joy. With tears of joy, He explained to them how their stepmother had gone back to her parents' house soon after they had left them in the forest, and how sorry he was for all that he did, and no matter how hard he had searched for them, they were nowhere to be found. The kids loved their father very much, so they forgave him. But another surprise was waiting for their father. They both reached their pockets and brought out gold and diamonds they had found in the witch's home. Their father could not believe his eyes. All the problems that their family had ever had went away, and they lived happily ever after. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away in the east, lived a carpenter named Adisebaba. He lived a poor life with his wife. Adisebaba would go into the forest with his donkey to cut wood, and then sell these woods in town to earn his living. One day he went into the forest to cut wood. Suddenly, he realized a group of horsemen coming towards him, and they did not look friendly.
They must be thieves. I must head at once.
Adisebaba hid his donkey behind the bushes, and he climbed up a tree. The men came and stopped right under the tree. Adisebaba counted exactly 40 of them. The men took down some heavy bags from their horses. Adisebaba realized that these men were the thieves. The head of the thieves went towards a big rock and started to yell.
Open, sesame, open.
Suddenly, something very unexpected happened. The big rock slid open just like a gate, and a cave appeared. The thieves went in one by one, carrying the heavy bags. After the last one went in, the gate automatically closed. Adisebaba was speechless from what he saw. After a short while, the rock opened again, and the thieves came out. At last, their leader came out. He turned to the gate and said,
Close, sesame, close.
The big rock closed immediately, and the thieves jumped on their horses and rode off. Adisebaba came down from the tree and went straight to the big rock. He yelled out the words he memorized.
Open, sesame, open.
The gate opened with a loud noise. Adisebaba hesitantly went in. He was stunned with what he saw. Inside was full of gold, silver, valuable fabrics, diamonds, and treasure chests. He looked around, picked up 3 bags and left. He turned to the rock and repeated what he heard from the leader of thieves.
Close, sesame, close.
He put all the bags on his donkey and head home. When he came home, he showed the bags to his wife. She could not believe her eyes. She thought that Adisebaba stole them. Where did you find all this gold? Adisebaba explained to her all that had happened. That made her really happy, and they started to unpack the bags. Oh, let's see how much money we have.
No, let's dig a hole and bury the gold.
Why don't you go out and dig a hole and I will ask your brother Kasim for a measuring cup. Ali Baba's brother Kasim was a rich merchant, but he was very greedy. He never helped out Ali Baba. So he warned his wife.
Don't you talk anything about the gold. No one must know about it.
His wife went to Kasim's house and asked him for a measuring cup. Knowing that they are very poor, Kasim asked right away.
What do you need the measuring cup for? You don't have any money.
His wife immediately made up a lie. Of course, Kasim did not really believe her. He secretly put a little honey underneath the cup and gave it to Ali Baba's wife. When his wife came back home, they started to measure the gold. And Ali Baba buried the gold he had counted in the hole. After they buried all the gold, his wife brought the measuring cup back. But she did not realize the gold that was stuck underneath the cup. When Kasim got the cup, he looked directly underneath. When he saw the gold, he was shocked.
I wonder where Ali Baba found this gold from.
Kasim could not sleep all night. When it was morning, he got up and went directly to Ali Baba's house. And he showed the gold that was stuck under the cup.
Ali Baba, I thought you were poor. Where did you find this gold? Tell me now.
Ali Baba told him everything so that he wouldn't tell anybody else about the gold.
If you don't show me where this cave is, I will tell the thieves what you have done. But Qasim...
Ali Baba knew that Kasim would do what he said. With no option, they went to the cave together.
The cave is right behind this rock. Now let's go away from here. The thieves might come any moment.
Ali Baba and Kasim went back home, but Kasim was still thinking about the cave. He immediately took 2 donkeys with him and went back to the cave. When he came in front of the cave, he repeated the words he learned from Ali Baba.
Open, sesame, open!
The big rock suddenly started to move and the gate to the cave opened. Kasim couldn't believe his eyes. He was speechless about the view inside. The sparkling gold mesmerized him. In a hurry, he started to fill the bags that he brought with as much as gold as he could. When he had no more room, he went back to the gate, but the gate was closed. And the bad thing was that he forgot the words to open the gate. So he started to make up words and tried to open it.
Open, door, open. Open, rack, open. Open, wheat, open.
Whatever he said, the gate did not open. He started to panic. He looked for another gate, but he could not find one. After a short while, the thieves came back to their cave. When they saw Kasim's donkeys, they got suspicious and drew their swords.
Open, sesame, open.
When the gate opened, the thieves caught Kasim right away and punished him right there and then.
So this was the thief stealing our gold.
When it was night time and Kasim did not come back home, his wife got really worried. She ran to Ali Baba's house and asked for help. Ali Baba was also worried about what had happened to Kasim. So she went to the cave and saw the donkey standing right in front of the gates. That's when he knew that his brother was inside and killed by the thieves. He went to his wife and told her everything. They decided not to tell anyone about this. After a while, Ali Baba and his wife started to live in Kasim's house. They started to run his business and helped it grow into a bigger business. They got wealthier and wealthier. During this time, the leader of the thieves realized that the gold in the cave was decreasing every day. So he ordered one of the thieves to see if anything suspicious was happening.
Go into town and have a look around for someone who recently got rich and started to spend a lot of money.
When the thief was walking around the marketplace, he saw Alibaba shopping with gold in his hands. So he followed him home. When Alibaba went in the house, the thief marked his door. When it got dark, Kasim's wife went out to put fresh water for the animals, and when she did, she saw the markings on the door. She realized that it wasn't for a good cause, so she took a bucket of paint and marked all the doors in the neighborhood. Soon it was morning, and the 40 thieves came to find Alibaba's house. When they saw that all the doors were marked the same, they had no choice to go back. But their leader was determined to find him. He disguised himself and started to walk around the marketplace. He finally found Alibaba and followed him home. Knocked on the door, Alibaba answered.
I came from a long way. I brought jugs full of olive oil. I heard that you are the richest merchant in the area. Maybe you would like to buy them.
Alibaba invited the leader thief home for dinner that night, thinking that he also was a merchant. The thief carried 40 jugs of olive oil to Alibaba's house, and Alibaba made his servants prepare a nice dinner table. Alibaba wanted to host him that night in his home. Of course, he accepted the offer. When Alibaba and the thieves were dining at the table, Kasim's wise wife went to look into the olive oil jugs. Suddenly, she heard some noises.
Should we get out? No, it's not time yet.
When she found out that there were thieves inside the jugs instead of olive oil, she knew that this was a setup. She immediately went to the kitchen and boiled some oil. Then she came back and poured the boiling oil in each and every one of the jugs. Of course, the thieves silently got fried. At midnight, when everyone was asleep, their leader came next to the jugs.
You can get out now.
When there was no response, he asked again.
Are you guys sleeping?
When he asked again, he could not get any response. He opened one of the jugs. He was terrified with what he saw, and knowing that he was also going to get caught, he ran away and never came back. In the morning, Kasim's wife told Alibaba all that had happened. Now they knew that they didn't need to worry about the thieves anymore. And so Alibaba and his family lived a happy and rich life.